We somehow managed to go.
All right. Oh, this is February 7th, 2023. This is the Ortelius General Community Meeting. Anybody have anything pressing to do while I pull up the document and go over what we did from last time?
So one thing I thought I'd mention, I stuck it up in Discord, is in Microsoft Security's last podcast, they talked about their SBOM tool. Might be worth having a listen if you haven't had opportunity to do so.
Was it something they're calling GitBomb?
I don't remember.
Or was it something from Microsoft?
It's from Microsoft, and while they do not call it GitBomb, they do have a GitHub repository for it, and it's been open sourced.
Okay.
They just call it SBOM tool.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more SBOM tools come about, and hopefully they'll be easy to use. And the funny part is these SBOM tools are all being implemented in the wrong location. So they're an afterthought after the build. So they should be actually integrated into the compiler, so the compiler generates the SBOM with what it actually used instead of it being an afterthought where you go and just say everything that was in this build directory was actually used when it could have been some other location.
I think the other thing they're doing really is validating what Ortelius is wanting to do. You know, if you're the only one out there, it creates more questions than if people are saying, yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
All right, there's the document. Sign in if I didn't already sign you in. Let's go over what we did. So we are officially 7 days into our blogathon. We have 12 of the 24 blogs assigned to individuals. Nitu, who some of you have met, some of you haven't. She used to be around and she then got a job that was requiring way too much of her attention. And now she's sort of floating back in, picked up a few of those. We have posted out through social networking, and it's gone out. The announcements for it has gone out via the CD Foundation. So they put it in their kind of newsletter that they have. So hopefully we'll get some catches from that. I've been having a few new meetings with folks, and I did have I met with somebody yesterday. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but hopefully he'll be joining the architecture call this coming week. Let me see if I can find his name so you guys can watch for it. Hang on just a second. Let me find it. I continue to do some LinkedIn work to see if we can bring in additional contributors, because we do have a good amount of work to do yet here. Let me pull up, find it. Okay, here. Okay.
So while Tracy's hunting down that doc, just to give you an update, I actually have to go to the bank today to do the wire transfer of the XRPL grant over to GitHub. So keep a heads up for further instructions on how each individual signs up on that front. The pages are kind of hidden in your profile, but I will get that out here pretty quick. So so finally we got everything moved around to the right place, it looks like, which is good. So we'll be able to get some of those bounties. We'll start getting paid.
Oh, that'll be so nice to have that done.
Yeah,
It's been a long road.
Yeah, who knew that this would be so difficult? And we still have to figure out the actual logistics inside of GitHub to make it work. But the back end part looks like it's coming along. Like I said, I'll be at the bank today and get that over to the GitHub folks.
All right, let me make a note on that. Okay, so the person that you guys should look for the for Thursday's call, I put his LinkedIn profile in the chat. If you think about it, go out there and ask to connect to him and introduce yourself. He is an operations person and knows the ops side really well. He wants to learn more about programming, and he wants to learn more about microservice development. So he kind of fits the profile for somebody that we would want to work with. Okay. Let me see, blogathon. Let me just do my notes here. Is underway. CDF published it and pushed it through social networking, social media. We have 12 of the 24 blogs assigned. I mean, if we get out of the 12 that we have assigned, if we get 7 or 8 of them, I'm going to be totally thrilled. Okay, Steve gave an update on the
Yeah, it's called
GitHub.
a GitHub sponsorship.
And then, so what's going to have to happen is, Steve, is everybody who is working on a bounty that is owed money, they'll have to get paid through GitHub, right? So they'll have to set up a bank account through the GitHub sponsorship program.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's where once we get the money over to the GitHub organization, it'll happen in the next couple days to transfer. Then there's something in your profile for your GitHub where you specify like your bank account information and stuff like that. And that's where I will figure out where that is hidden and kind of put together the instructions on how to set that up.
Why does that feel like a totally not safe thing to do?
It's one of those that I mean, if you're really worried about it, I would set up a separate account that's separate than your normal like checking account.
That might be worth mentioning in the instructions you do, Steve. I'm not,
Yeah,
concerned about it because I'm not doing anything for a bounty, but I would tell people, don't put your main account in there.
yeah, definitely. And there's ways to set up temporary accounts and stuff like that for most banks.
No, I would just include a warning because
Yeah,
people can be, GitHub's a little too vulnerable sometimes.
I agree. And once I figure out the instructions, we'll see what type of what the process is for the detailed information you have to provide them.
Any other questions on that sponsorship program, since we've been struggling with getting you guys paid for a while now, and I'm happy that at least we have a method of doing it.
It's definitely been an interesting learning experience. And I will be reviewing it looks like the like Joseph, your PRs have been approved. So I'm going to take a look and just double check over them. So that will take care of that. And Utkarsh, did you have your pull request out there?
Yep.
Which repo was it? The SBOM Ledger one?
Yes.
Okay.
On the other kind of outreach front, the CDCon is happening. I think it's May 8th and 9th. we have two of our contributors are on the selection committee for talks, which includes Brad McCoy and Garima Bajpai. For those of you who don't know Garima, she set up our rewards program, and she set up our governance document. She another one who's gotten distracted with raising a teenager, 12-year-old, and having a new responsibilities at work. So she hasn't been around much, but she does still keep in contact with us. And I think she actually signed up for a blog. The CFP is open, I think, for another 2 days. I'm going to put that in the doc, and I'm going to put it in the chat. I would highly recommend, if you are able to travel to Vancouver, we'd love to have you submit. And Tony, you should submit for a talk.
Allow me to think about it.
Well, don't think too long. You don't have a whole lot of time.
You got a couple hours.
Yeah, keep in mind, I'm not a developer, so.
And there are a lot. So with CDCon, there's a lot of non-developers because we are mainly DevOps people, and not DevOps people aren't necessarily programmers. But topics on security, topics on SBOM, topics on community, they have the talks here. Let me quickly share my screen. Maybe I can encourage you.
And things like architecture and
Yeah. And I'll add, Tony, though I often try to convince myself otherwise. I haven't been able to call myself a programmer probably for years. And I haven't done a number of talks at events like these. I think your experience with the things that Tracy noted, as well as just overall sort of software development and delivery concepts, likely offers some value. I'd
Okay.
encourage you to.
So here's the sessions. There's one on leadership. There's also one on, because I did one on community and culture. And you can also do stuff on Ortelius. So you can talk about what Ortelius is doing. Any of those, you can do stuff on policy and governance.
All right, I promise to think about it, but my dance card's fairly full at the moment.
Well, it would be great to have you there. Steve and I originally was going to go to the Women of Silicon Valley, a conference I've been wanting to go to for some time. I even paid to sign up to go. And then I found out this was on the 8th and 9th, and I'm going to have to cancel that. And we will be there. I'm also going to be at, I'm going to be a featured speaker at Swamp Up on the 11th of May. So we're going to be in Vancouver the 8th and 9th. And then we'll probably hang out around in Vancouver on the 10th, and then fly down to San Jose to do Swamp Up on the 11th. So I'm going to work on a topic, a security Ortelius topic, and be a featured speaker at Swamp Up, which I'm super excited about. And that's pretty much, so I'm going to, if you are interested in speaking, the link is in the document here. It is good through, let's see when it closes Friday. So you have a couple of days to think about it. And I don't know what their virtual stance is. I think most of them where they're assuming everybody's going to be in person.
Yeah, people trying to do hybrid conferences this year are having an interesting time figuring out exactly how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's weird because we loved having our virtual events, but everybody's pushing back to being in person now.
Well, yeah, I said the ones that are really tough aren't the virtual ones. It's people that are trying to do hybrid.
I know.
And they really are having a tough time with those.
I hope they continue it because, like Joseph, we would love Joseph to be presenting. He's a great presenter. He presented for our Visionary Summit. But getting Joseph from Guyana to Vancouver is no easy task. You know, I feel like maybe in the future, if everything's going to be a in-person event, that maybe we have to try to do some fundraising around travel for some of our contributors so they can get some FaceTime and some love, right? It's just hard. So the virtual events creates a more democratic way of educating and spreading the love. But it's always good to see everybody in person. And I'm assuming Brad's going to make it to CDCon, even though he's got quite a long way to travel to do so. But I think he has a fairly large travel budget that he affords himself. And Utkar should be awesome if you could come. I have no idea what your situation looks like, but again, getting Utkars from India, it's just not an easy task to get that done.
Yeah, so crazy. I've already submitted.
You did? I hope you get. I hope that they. Did you submit something around Ortelius?
Yeah, it's the same CSP as CPF that I submitted for CDCon, KubeCon, but I was not able to get through it.
Yeah, I've never been. KubeCon I have submitted for almost every year. I finally just gave up on it to get accepted at KubeCon. That's a hard one to get. I've spoken at co-located events at KubeCon, but never at KubeCon proper. All right, well, it sounds like we have Steve submitted 2 talks. I submitted 2 talks. Utkarsh, you submitted a talk. Tony, if we could get you there, that would be amazing. I'm going to ping Brad to see if he submitted a talk for Ortelius. I don't know if, since he's on the selection committee, I don't know if he should be able to do a talk as well, but I'm going to ping him and make sure. Last year at CDCon, I complained because in the schedule, they had 2 talks for Jenkins, which I thought was ridiculous considering how large the Jenkins community is and how much CDCon or the CDF is a Jenkins community. They had Brian's talk that qualified sort of for Ortelius because he mentioned it. I did my talk on Ortelius, and Shipwright got 1 talk, and then they had 1 talk on Tecton for the entire conference. That was it. You know, you think it's like going to KubeCon and not having anything on Kubernetes. So well, we hope that they have a better, more product focus, at least a track that covers their open source tools. That's what I would hope. All right, enough of my bitching about that. Steve, you want to go over what on the architecture side, the 3 milestones and any progress on the one we're trying to close by the end of the month?
Yep. So let me go ahead and share my screen, get over there.
The DevOps milestone has got an end of the month deadline. So basically, if those things don't get taken care of by the end of the month, we're going to look to see if they're critical, and if they're not critical, we'll close them for now.
So we did go through and do some cleanup on the issues. And you'll see that we have a couple milestones out here. So if you sort by the milestones, come on. So the XRPL ledger milestone is mostly the back-end pieces of that of the NFTs, IPFS, the ledger part. Rocinati's more of the front-end pieces, and then the DevOps portion is just DevOps stuff that we just need to get under control. So things like Tracy's been working on this one. And I think Tracy, you have to double check your Discord. I think Sasha replied back to you on that. But
Okay.
just cleanups of like the README file. This one with our CVEs for our containers, I figured that one out. It was a low-level Docker build that we needed to update. We did post over to Brad if we still need to fine tune or what we're going to do with Argo around our deployments. Another basic health check that we need to add to the deployment YAML files. And then this last one on what we're going to do about image scanning at the action level if we want to implement something like that.
This is a good first issue, so if somebody wants to grab it. Arvin, are you on this call today? Arvin here?
He was. I don't know if he's still.
Yeah, I am here.
Is that one you might want to pick up?
Yeah, okay.
Steve can help you on it.
Yeah, it's actually in
And
the, it's on our GitHub Actions side, so it's a good like DevOps, understanding the build portion of things. And then if we look at some of the other milestones.
So Arvin, if you
okay,
do you have time after this
Yeah.
call to hang on and chat with Steve about that issue?
yeah, I have time.
Okay.
And then some of these, we probably just need to double check, like the SBOM one. We just need to make sure the PRs cross-reference to this, those type of things that we have going on. So this is like the back end pieces of getting everything sorted out around the NFTs and the ledger.
And this one, in terms of milestone dates, most of these, and there's a few others that we haven't opened yet, have to be done by, we're really shooting for a March 31st date.
And then we have, so that's mostly the back end pieces, and then the front end pieces. And yeah, Nick has picked up some of these. He's going to be working on some of the layout. And a lot of this is the layout portions. So this is more like the design level that we're at for the UI pieces. And then we'll have another set of issues when we actually go start implementing things. So this is just like the first phase of what we need to get done.
Well, this Rocinante is not due. We're pushing for a June 1st, I think, deadline on this, but the XRP milestone has a March 31st.
Yeah,
So
we
in
need to
terms
get
of
most of
priorities-
we need to get most of the back end pieces in place before we start throwing a front end on it.
But Nico's starting to work on it.
Yes, he's not a programmer. So what he's doing is he's doing the UI UX layout and making sure that the front end experience is going to work for what we needed to do. Because when we look at, so one of the challenges that we have with when we look at the open source community and managing and keeping track of SBOMs for every single package out there, we get into several million, probably 4 or 5 million rows of packages that we're going to be kind of tracking. That's our potential down the road. So making sure that the UI can scale and it's navigatable and stuff like that to deal with that amount of data is one of the challenges that we've always had in the past. And hopefully Nick can help us out, giving us a good layout so we can have some decent navigation. So that's what we have going on. And like I said, before there's a couple PRs out there, I'll go ahead and review those. Looks like they've been approved, and we'll keep plugging along. Any questions on any of that stuff?
And then I just have one final update from our friends at Red Hat. And Brian, I'd love to get your feedback on this. So Red Hat has a project that they would love for us to be their front end, and it's called Ortelius, and it is basically a binary repository.
It's an OCI registry that they want to extend.
They want to extend it to support anything. They already have, they've created the open source project, but I don't think they've gotten funding from upper management around it. And upper management says, yes, as soon as you have a community who wants to support it, we'll help you. I'm I'm thinking, I reached out, I'm going to meet with them next week. Both of the two primary folks that we're working with are out of town this week, and I'm going to meet with them next week. And what I'm thinking about doing is pitching the idea of them opening up an Emporius project underneath the Ortelius organization. So that they can, because if you look at their
repo's empty,
the
basically.
repo's empty. They don't have really anything that's going on. I
How
think
do we spell this just so I can look at it live? Emporius. I'm
Yeah.
Googling as you're talking. Sorry to interrupt.
You won't
I just
find
wanna-
No
anything.
worries. You won't find it.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Steve, if you're still sharing, can you go to their
No,
repository?
I stopped sharing.
Okay. Could you share and go to their repo?
I have no idea where it is.
Okay, let me find
Okay.
it. I did find it at one point in GitHub.
Yeah, I don't.
So this must be this one. Yeah, here it is.
Did you find it? Because I can't find
I
it.
did. I found it. Here is their repo. This is Andrew Block is sort of the community manager. Sorry about that. Jennifer Powers created this, and she's sort of one of their main contributors, but they just have 8. There's not a lot in here. I mean, if you go to issues or anything, it's pretty small. They've just really gotten started. There's not a whole lot, to be quite honest. They've got, here's their stats on their different repos that they have under their organization. But so what I'm thinking is if they really want to pursue this relationship, they need help on building their community. And what I'm thinking is to bring to the board the idea of allowing them, if they're interested, to bring them in under the Ortelius organization so that they can build out their community faster, and the community can see what they're doing, and it can be more of a collaborative effort. But in the future, if they want to go out and create Emporius and make it its own project, its own organization, they could move it out from underneath us and submit to the CDF to have their own project.
Aaron, can I ask just, well, we're kind of short for time, so maybe can't get into detail. Do we just want to pick back up on this later?
Yeah, maybe I'll write an email out to the governing board and ask everybody just to take a look at it, and I'll copy and paste the response that they got from upper management that they needed to have a community to support it before they would fund it.
Okay. Yeah, and look, my take off the cuff is I would love to be able to, if Ortelius as I think talking as a board member, Ortelius should and probably would like to look to support projects like this. Seems like we should dig into a little more detail as a governing board and consider voting to see if we would bring them in and host them.
Okay.
But it looks interesting. I'll look for an email, Tracy. I'll dig in a little more offline and then engage me. I'm at it.
So I'll what I'll do is when I get that meeting scheduled with them, I will send an invite to all the governing board to be on that call with them and to talk to them about that possibility for them. If they're interested, then we can then meet separately as a governing board to vote on it with a thumbs up or down. All right. And I think that's all we have in the works at the moment. I think that's plenty for an open source community.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get I'm gonna try to wrap up the architecture document this week. So we have that to work from.
Okay, when do you anticipate having that available to have a look at, Steve?
I'm gonna shoot by the end of the week. I will push it to the repo and let everybody know where it's at.
Okay, great. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I just have to make sure that I have everything clear because it is kind of complicated on what we need to do.
Well, if you want somebody to take a look at it, let me know.
We'll do.
So Steve, I was working on that normalization method, so that is
Yep.
completed. I've used a PR. Parallelly, I'm also working on that, creating the transpose SBOM from like CIDs to the actual JSON object. So maybe like we should schedule one call so that you can review the like what I've done that is expected.
Sounds good. I'll touch base with you on Discord and we'll figure out a time.
Okay, sure.
Anything else?
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. We sure appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
And Arvin, hang on. Don't go. Let see if Steve can help you out with getting
Yeah.
that one going. And I'll stop recording.
So let me find that issue again.